Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be sharing with you my April wrap-up and my May TBR. So as usual, none of these two videos are going to be long enough for me to want to make separate videos, so I lumped them all up together. So I'm going to talk about the two books that I was able to complete in April and the books that I am planning to read in May. So for my original April TBR, I was able to stick to most of the books that I had on that TBR. There was only one book on there that I did not get to, and I don't think I'm going to get to anytime soon. That was The Gunslinger by Stephen King, the first book in the Dark Tower series. I was planning on starting that in April. It was a fairly short book, but I decided not to go ahead and start that in April just because I literally just picked up this series last month, and I felt kind of bad starting that series, such a long series, so early with all of these other series that I have on my shelves that I need to finish or start that have been sitting on my shelves for a lot longer. So I felt a little guilty starting that series that I literally had just gotten. So I figured I would just go ahead and push that a little bit farther back, maybe toward the end of the year. I'll hopefully start it, but because that is a longer series, again, a series that I literally just picked up. So I wanted to focus on other things before I started that series. So I was able to stick to all of the other books that I had on that list. The first one that I was able to complete was the Nemesis by S.J. Kincaid. This was the final book in the Diabolic trilogy. So the Diabolic trilogy follows our main character Nemesis, who is a Diabolic. She's a cyborg type person who at one point they're deemed illegal. So these Diabolics in this world are kind of deemed too dangerous to have around people. They're kind of, you know, purchased by the kind of higher up people, the wealthy people, to bring protection to family members and that kind of thing. But they become a little bit too violent, a little bit too kind of serious in their work, and start to kind of kill anybody that they feel is any kind of threat to the person that they're deemed to protect. So in this world, Diabolics are told that they can no longer exist. They all start being killed off, and then Nemesis is one of the lone survivors of this kind of cyborg generation. So she pretends to be the person that she's not in the first book, and then things kind of kick off from there. A lot of things happen throughout this series, and this final book kind of culminates all of the events that happen, mostly in book 2. I think it ends, at least book 1 ends, and things kind of take a little shift, because I believe that this series, when it first was announced, the first one was just a standalone, so things were kind of left open-ended, and you know, a lot of things got wrapped up within the storyline in that first book, but then things got expanded within the rest of the series. So book 3 culminates a lot of the things that started right in book 2, because book 2 leaves us with kind of a cliffhanger ending. So I was really excited to finally get into this one. This took a while for the author to release this. I believe it was around like 2 years or so after book 2, but either way, this was an enjoyable ending, but one that I didn't truly love as much as I wanted to. I mean, for a finale, I was expecting something kind of grander and more epic, and for this one, it was, yes, it was satisfying, but again, I was expecting something bigger, like for some reason, just something epic in a finale. I mean, that's kind of what I look for in finales, just kind of these big epic finales that are just like action-packed, especially with something like this where it's, you know, YA, sci-fi. I was just expecting more action and more kind of peril and things like that, but I guess in the end, like I mentioned, it was okay. It was a satisfying ending. I still do really recommend this series, but just go into it knowing that the ending may not be as epic as you're expecting. And then I also completed New World Inferno, the final book in the New World trilogy by Jennifer Wilson. This is another YA dystopian series that I started reading a few years back. I read the first 2 books back to back, and then the third book came out, I believe it was almost 3 years ago at this point, and it just, again, sat on my shelf for the longest time. But I'm really glad I finally finished this one. This one follows our main character, Phoenix, who lives in the city of Tartarus. And Tartarus is, again, it's all in chaos. It's divided up between a bunch of different tribes that have, you know, taken authority over their specific territories, and then you have the sanctuary that's in the outskirts of this city where all of kind of the rich people live and everything, and they're all within this sanctuary, and they're all now, you know, trying to kind of take down the sanctuary and overtake everything and bring kind of order into this world that is divided and chaotic. So unlike the end of the Diabolic trilogy, the end of the New World series was absolutely incredible. This was everything that I wanted in a finale for a YA series. It was epic, it was grand, there was this build up to this war that we got to see and really feel, and I really, really enjoyed this series overall. This kind of is reminiscent, gives me feelings of The 100. If you guys have watched the show The 100 that was on the CW a little while ago, this kind of gives me those kinds of vibes, especially when I first started it. And there were so many things that I wanted to happen in this third book that I saw play out, and I was just so happy about it. After I finished book 2, I was kind of left wanting more of the series and more of this world, and I told myself if certain things don't happen in the third book, I'm probably not going to end up loving the series, but all of those things happened, and I was so excited that the author was able to finish off the series the way they did, and I was so happy. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Really loved this series overall. And then moving on to the books that I am currently reading, I'm currently in the middle again of Deathcaster by Cindy Williams Shyma. This was in my original April TBR. I'm about 230 pages or so into this one, but I'm listening to this one on audiobook just because it's a longer one, and I wanted to get it done in April, but this audiobook is super long. It's like 22 hours long. I haven't really been commuting to work as much as I normally would. I had a week off last week, which I did no commuting whatsoever, so it's been taking me a while to get through this audiobook, and things at the beginning were a little bit slower. There's a lot of politics and a lot of things going on at the beginning, a lot of build up to what I'm hoping is an epic finale to this series, but yeah, it's moving a little bit slower, and I'm just not inclined to pick up the audiobook as much as I was hoping that I would be inclined to do, but another series that I'm enjoying. I really hope that I end up loving this in the end, and definitely going to try and finish this one in May. And then another book that I am currently in the middle of just came out at the end of April, so this is definitely a book that I'm going to finish in the month of May, and that is Man Enough by Justin Baldoni. This is a nonfiction book that talks about masculinity, undefining masculinity, and what it is to be a man, and being able to kind of show feelings, and kind of debunking a lot of these things about, you know, toxic masculinity, and just a very wonderful topic that I have been wanting to read more of. If you guys have not checked out Justin Baldoni's TED Talk, I'd highly recommend you guys going on YouTube and checking it out. And this book is mostly talks a lot about the topics that he talked about in his TED Talk, which I'm really excited to continue on with. I'm about 50 pages or so into this one. Really enjoying it so far. Definitely going to read the rest of this in May. And then another new release in the month of May that I know I'm going to get through, and that is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, her newest release, which I'm super excited about. Again, Emily Henry, I've talked about her on my channel before. She's an autobi author for me, and her new book comes out on May 11th, which I'm really excited to get to, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for this book. Cannot wait to get this in the mail and read it. And then the final book that I am going to read in the month of May is an ARC that I received from NetGalley, and that is Rabbits by Terry Mills. This is an adult science fiction kind of dystopian type novel. I read a little bit of the synopsis and thought it was super interesting. I got approved for it, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. But this is about kind of conspiracies, and there's kind of a mystery revolving around this one, and anything kind of with a mystery set in a kind of science fiction dystopian type setting, I'm going to want to read, because that always sounds super interesting to me. So again, another one that I am definitely going to read, because it comes out sometime at the beginning of June, so I definitely want to get it done and read in May, and hopefully post a full spoiler-free review or something right before the release of that, so keep an eye out for that. So yeah guys, that is it for all of the books that I read in April and everything that I'm planning on reading in May. Comment down below, let me know what your favorite books were in the month of April. If you guys are planning on reading anything that I have read or that I'm planning on reading, please let me know as well. I would absolutely love to know. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.